Hey everybody, welcome back to the Method Van build series. My name is Shay, and today I want to take you through where we're at with our current 2025 all-wheel drive Ultimate Sprinter build. And I got about 15 items that I just want to take you through to give you a bit of an idea of how we go about our builds. And as I've mentioned before, this is sort of in the order in which we do them. So if you're following the video and trying to match it to a build or plan out a build, this will give you a lot of guidance as you go along. So we'll start off on the roof. So I'll grab the camera and we'll head up there right now. So I've got a bit of a list as I go up here, just to make sure we grab everything as we go about. So first thing that we kind of go into next on our build series is we do install a Maxxfan in the forward location of the van. This is a great location for the installation of the fan, primarily because all of the ribbing doesn't interfere with the installation of the van. So the Maxxfan fits perfectly in this location. And we have an installation kit or ring that perfectly places it for you. It's on our website, and it makes the installation a lot easier. So we cut out the hole. We use Terrason MS5510 as our adhesive to the installation of the fan base. And then we do a die-core lap sealant, and this is really just for good measure. It's pretty much sealed without that, but it's good measure to do that. And I'll show you the installation ring when we get inside the van. Next up, we install 4 cable glands into the van, and these are all our access ports for all of our exterior wiring. So you'll see one here. We like the Seaview cable glands. Scanstrut makes them too, but we're kind of used to the Seaview ones. And if you kind of look in there, you'll see a bit of a blue ring, and I'm going to show you that when we go inside. Installation pro tip for us is we actually drill through the metal with a hole that's large enough for the screw, and we don't try to attach the screws through to the metal, sheet metal. You can do that. I just don't love it. I love having a clamping effect and really snugging that down, not over snugging that seal, but making sure that we do get a really positive seal. Last thing we want is anything leaking on the roof. So we got one here on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. So this one's going to be for our light bar and our load lighting on this side. That one's going to be for our awning connections coming out of that one. And then we got 2 more on the back. You can just kind of see that one. That one we've used a rectangular one. You can get away with all ovals or sorry, all rounds. We just had a rectangular one. It gives you a little bit more room. So there we've actually got, and the reason we've used that one, we've got 2 load lights and our cellular booster comes out of that hole. So we have 3 penetrations out of that one. And then again, one on that side, which is just for our 2 load lights. So that gives you a quick view of our roof. And we'll head back downstairs. Okay, so as we go around the van here, next up we have our 30 amp shore power. This is the Seaview. We like this one because it has positive indication of your ground, line, and neutral. So I really like that. You can not turn on your main breaker in the van until you're confident that your shore power is good, so you don't have any issues inside your van. And I'll show you inside how this is installed. This is a really nice one. It's all black. It's got a stainless steel faceplate. Snaps and engages really nice. And this is kind of where we like to put it towards the back here. And I'll show you inside why we do that. New to our 2025 build is an exterior visible 125 volt, 20 amp exterior outlets. And this is made, and it's a new product by Scanstrut. What I like about this one is it actually opens at 2 different spots. So the first place, it's a bit of pretty positive like connection and clasping. So it goes there, which you can plug your cords in. And you can see it's a nice, it's 20 amp. It's all black. It's quite nice. This would, allow the water to sort of fall off. Or if you had a big adapter or something and you really needed some space, you can open up this all the way. And of course, you can see we've got a nice, really good seal there to make sure that this is really sealed well. And again, this is breakered at the back of our van, out the back door. So again, you don't even have to have power to this outlet at any time if you didn't want it. And so you get past that first click, and then a really positive engagement on that. In the past, we've added an outlet underneath the rear of the van, kind of like back underneath here. So it's completely out of view, but kind of inaccessible. You got to get down on your hands and knees. So I didn't love that. I do like this a lot better, but there was nothing on the market that I felt was well designed, well developed, and aesthetically pleasing to kind of match the quality of our vans. In this case, you know, we don't really do much surface mounted things. This is the max that we kind of do out here is these two electricals. And they're on the back side, so they're not visible from campsite and things like that. As we go around to the back of the van, we've already highlighted our rear bumper. But one of the things that we do at this point in the game is we want to make sure we protect as much of the plastic and any finished goods as much as possible. So we use painter's tape throughout a lot of places in the van to make sure that things are as perfect as possible when we deliver it to the customer. Next is our rear door prep. So part of the rear door prep is we install sound deadening or dampening material. We mostly use the Kilmat. I did buy another brand. They're in bigger sheets, and I'll show you up front why I kind of like those. These are just some leftover pieces. You also see we've done our door prep, our rear door prep for our rear panels. We like to use wood blocking. The reason I like to have the finished panel, you know, somewhat sort of flush with this outer lip is to, one, it gives us a cavity that we can insulate. So the last thing we want to do is have a freezing cold panel for all season, you know, use right at our heads while we're sleeping. So having this insulated is really important. I see a lot of builders, you know, using bags in here or having their panels like recessed really close onto the surfacing of the interior of that cavity, and then you got zero insulation. So it's these little things that make vans kind of usable and that you're going to enjoy. So that cavity is going to get insulated. This cavity is going to get insulated. This cavity is going to get insulated. We try to stuff as much insulation into the cavities as possible, you know, up and even in through these spaces, etc., to try to get as much R value as we can. So that's the driver's side door, and then of course we mimic that on the passenger side door. We have placements of these blocks. They're all different depths and such like that to fit our panel as we've scribed and made that. We'll now go into the van, and I'll show you some of the things that are happening inside the van. Here are our two exterior outlets. So here's that Scanstrut, and what you'll see is I like to use I use 1/4 inch, you know, a puck board or a plastic material to create something to screw to. So I like to use screws, obviously, that can come out, and we can replace this device if we need to. And, you know, you only get 1 or 2 times, or maybe even only 1 time into the sheet metal, whereas this plastic is forgiving and it can go in and out a number of times. And then we've used a structural adhesive to make sure that plate stays in place, because clearly once our electrical system's in here and our wall panels are on, this becomes somewhat inaccessible. And then here we've got our shore power plug coming in as well. And as you go around, we're going to see that there's lots of sound dampening material throughout the van. We don't have it on certain places yet because we haven't installed our windows, but you know, we do the wheel wells, and I mean pretty much everywhere in the van you'll see some amount of Kilmatting. Part of our process is to reinforce the structural membranes of the van. So we use a structural adhesive in all these little spots, and Mercedes does it out of the factory. The problem is that the majority of them are loose, so they're not actually structured. So now this is like rock solid. It's not movement, or there's no movement. You're not going to get any flexing, and we're just creating a really rigid, solid structure to the van. Like I said, Mercedes does this. You can see their black kind of adhesive in there. So they already do it. But like I said, half of the time these pieces aren't properly attached. I think they do it so fast. So we go around the entire van, and any place that there's these little structural spots where we have these returns for all of these, we kind of just reinforce those with a structural adhesive. You'll see we have this brown wire kind of following down here, and this brown wire goes all the way to the front cab, and then it comes down, and then it goes into this seat base, which it's going to connect right into there. You'll see that brown wire coming across, and that is into as an upfitter connection point, the EK port or EK1. And inside there, we get what's called an ignition interlock or an ignition sensing wire. So we use that for two things. One, we tee off here for our awning. So our awning is an automatic awning, and it won't extend if the ignition is running. So it's got an interlock. And then we tee off that, and that comes all the way to the back where I was showing you before. And that goes to our electrical system, which then goes to our wake speed regulator, which then that wake speed regulator will then be sensing and knowing that we have the ignition running. So then it's going to use our secondary alternator to do some charging. Next up on the van prep, so we call this kind of our van prep stage, is to install all kinds of sort of protection for wiring. So we like to use these knockouts. So this is a 1-inch bushing. It's an electrical piece you can get at your hardware store. We drill these out to 1 3/8, and then they snap in nicely. And then you'll see we actually just put silicone around them, and that's just to make sure that they're not going to pop out when we're putting all of our wires in and out. So we do a total of like 17 of these knockouts in the van. So anywhere a wire is going through, it has to be protected. We don't want any abrasion on those wires, even though we use high quality wiring that has thick sheathing and things like that. We need to make sure that those knockouts are going to protect those wires. So we have those throughout the van. In addition, any wires that we run, and so we use this kind of this cavity that goes along here, and you'll see we've used edge guard or a loom of sort to try to protect these edges, because all of our wiring is going to lay across here, and then it's going to go up these walls or up these knockouts and to various spots. So that's really important when you're building a van, to make sure that you're not going to get any issues down the road. You'll also see at the front that we've completely stripped the cab. So this is kind of an important part of the build, is to get the seats out, to get the headliner out, to get all of those these finishing foam pieces out. We actually use those foam pieces in our builds. We cut part of them and upholster them, etc. like that. So once the cab is completely stripped, then again we will Kilmat. And here's those big sheets I was talking about. They're a lot larger than the Kilmat sheets, so it's a little bit easier to do this. But we Kilmat the front. The cab is really important. We do fully insulate the cab as well, obviously when the time comes. So when we have this all exposed, now we bring our wire in for our light bar. So we're coming up. This is from inside our engine compartment. If you watch one of our other videos, it's coming up. It kind of laces around here, and then it's kind of just dangling here for right now. And then this is going to be connecting into our into our light bar. Now we actually transitioned from this anchor, pre-tinned wire or fully tinned wire to again a fully tinned round wire, because when you're drilling through the cable glands, it doesn't really accommodate this style of wiring, kind of the flat wiring. So we transition from this wire into a round wire. Now that I'm up here, I just highlighting what we've done for the backing of these cable entries. So we cut these, again, 1/4 inch puckboard material. We then glue these to the roof. We let that dry. And then when we go to install our cable gland, we got something nice to screw to. So again, we're drilling through a pilot hole that's large enough for the screw heads and then they're just coming through and making full contact, and you're actually sandwiching it. These won't come on in and out typically, but we're just making sure that we've got a really great connection there. Next up is our heater gets installed. So we like to use the Eberspacher, or some people, just abbreviate it Espar. So this is the S3 model. So it's the newest model. We just come through with one vent into the cab. This is the best spot because it's the main entry of the van. This is your largest heat loss. So this is where we want to have our heat source coming out. And just another pro tip: if you do the Espar heater, the vent, round vent, or heater that comes out is perfectly situated in that like recessed cavity of the seat, but you got to hit it dead on. You got to get the middle of it, and you actually have to just trim the plastic shroud a little bit to make sure that it gets in there just perfect. And the other thing that we like to do is we actually point it kind of inward towards the van, and not directly just down to the floor. So we kind of try to hit it on a directional angle so it kind of penetrates into the van a bit better. We don't have the inside or the underneath of the heater installed perfectly yet. We have everything running through our seat base. And then we come up with our wiring for our controller. So it'll come up here and it runs across. And then currently it's just dangling here, which will connect into our cabinet, a faced cabinet here where all those controls are. Lastly, what we do is, two more things. We next do our preparation for our extra seating. So our vans pretty much all come with what's called a hybrid design. So it's seating for two. So we got 1, 2, or seating for 4. So we add in a double reclining 3-point seat belt, beautifully finished upholstered seat. And they're on quick release tracks with the unwind quick release lockers. But to have structural integrity to the van, we need to build up the floor fully with metal. And so we use solid aluminum to build up the floor. And so you'll see we've got a solid plate in the bottom that fills that bottom cavity, and then it transitions to another larger plate. And that is all attached with Sikaflex 252, which is a structural adhesive used for attaching things in vans like this in a structural way. And that now gives us our place where our tracking will get bolted through. So it gets bolted from the track through the floor. And then on the underside of the van, we use another 1/4-inch piece of aluminum as a large washer plate. So this thing is rock solid. It isn't going anywhere. The whole floor of the van would need to rip out before there would be any concern here. The other piece is going to obviously be over in this space. That is not in there yet because right now this is flat with the floor. So when we put our flooring in, we can template the seating, and then once the wood is cut out, then we can build up the aluminum for the other side here so that we can put in our tracking. So all of our vans come prepped with this, and then you have the option either down the road or right from the beginning if you want to add extra seating. Lastly, we install our floor extension piece. Again, this is available on our website. It fits beautifully. It's all CNC cut or laser cut to go perfectly around every sort of transition in the van. And it's in our exclusive black finish powder coat. We have our emblem cut out and with a nice stainless steel backing plate. And this just gives us a bit more floor space. Still gives us a generous 2-foot entrance into the van, which is all that we need. And then again, we're just protecting this with painter's tape to make sure that we don't have any issues. And that there is exactly where we're at in our build in terms of this build series. So thanks for joining us. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, stay tuned for our next build video. Thanks for joining.